RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition, Liquid Sun Rays, and Cuts Fitness and Prep. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, whatever's on your mind, it is all on the table. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, right now, with our good friends Titan Medical Center, a special for blood work, limited time special. Why don't you tell the fans a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I talked to them over there, obviously, and we were trying to figure out, what to do for the summer. And I said, well, a lot of people want to get in the best shape of their life. People had the winter blues, they gained a lot of weight, they feel uncomfortable, they feel unhealthy. I get a lot of people contacting me. I probably have read at least 20 people's blood work in the last 2 weeks. So everyone's interested in getting blood work done. A lot of people have no insurance, and they just forego it and don't get it done. Titan Medical is making it very appealing. They're doing a special where it's $130 for men to get their blood work done, full panel, and females $200 because obviously there's extra hormones that are going to be tested. It's a little more expensive. But at least you're going to know what your levels of your testosterone is, your thyroid status, your metabolic status, your kidney function, liver function, heart function, red blood cells, white blood cells. They run the gamut of everything. And this way, at least you can have a peace of mind going into the contest season or going into whatever season you happen to be going into, trying to diet down and get in the best shape of your life, where your baseline is. And then obviously, if you want to work with Titan and get on HRT, or you want to get on some of their injectable vitamins that they have, I love the glutathione. I'm convinced it actually my whole house has been sick for 6 weeks. My son had started school, he's getting colds, sore throats, infections. They're bringing everything home. Unfortunately, my wife Amanda has been getting everything, been nailed by everything because she's pregnant and her immune system's not as good. I've been pounding the injectable glutathione, all my vitamins, and I somehow have averted the disaster so far. I don't want to jinx myself, but seriously, it's important that you get your blood work done. Here's an opportunity to do it at a very reasonable cost, because a lot of these, you can go to just get testosterone, estrogen, checked, and it can cost you over $200 or $250. So this is a great deal. Contact TitanMedicalCenter.com. Tell them Dave Palumbo and RxMuscle sent you, and you're going to get this great discount. And once again, if you want to do further, HRT with them or anything else, talk to them on the phone. The doctors there are terrific. They're very helpful, and I think you guys are going to really appreciate this great service that they're offering.
So again, check out TitanMedicalCenter.com and take advantage of the blood work deal. Let's go to the first two questions. The first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. First question, Dave, from a coaching standpoint, what differences do you need to make for someone that has a faster metabolism, say endo versus mesomorph, training, nutrition, drug-wise?
More food, less cardio. That's what I find. When I get some people, usually it's men. It's usually the women. Very rarely do I get a woman who's like genetically gifted in the metabolism, area. I've had women that I can feed an enormous amount of food to in the off season, but then they start dieting and I just can't. And you can't feed them a lot. They won't lose weight, so they'll have trouble gaining weight, but they still have trouble losing weight. So what I do is I assess the metabolism of who I'm working with. And then I say, okay, this is what I think based on my experience of doing this for 25 plus years, this is what I think they need. And then I watch them for a week and I see how their body responds. If they lose, if they start, basically disappearing and they have no energy and they can't function, then I know they need more food. Now, usually the first 2 weeks, people lose a lot of weight anyway because they lose a lot of water weight. So the first 2 weeks are not always a good, litmus test of whether it's too little or too much food. However, if they start gaining weight on the diet, then obviously I got to pull food back. But once again, there's a certain level of science and knowledge that goes into coaching, and then there's a certain level of experience. It only comes with working with a lot of people over a long period of time. I'm still learning. Every once in a while I get a person that just blows my mind that they just don't fit the prototype. But look, I work with a lot of people, and 99% of the time, I catch people. I'm like, you know what? There's no way this person is gaining weight during this diet. They're definitely cheating, or they're eating something they shouldn't be eating. And then I have them write me a food diary, and I find out that they're adding spices that have sugar in them. They're using, sugar-free ketchup that still has carbs in it. They're doing all these, they're cooking their food, and they're like boiling their food in oil, basically. They're deep frying their food, and they're wondering why they can't lose weight. Well, they're adding like 100 grams of fat to every meal because the food is just sucking up all that oil. So once again, you got to know who you're working with, and then you got to assess their metabolism, and then you have to make adjustments according to that.
Let's go to the second question again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Love your rants. I microwave my vegetables. Is this okay? Is it even worth to eat them if I cook them in that manner?
Yeah, this is my feeling on vegetables. I try to eat them as raw as possible, but sometimes I can't do it, and I'll saute them in like some light macadamia nut oil, just briefly, I don't make them super mushy. But the key is when you boil any kind of vegetable in any kind of water or liquid, it leaches all the vitamins into that water. Now, if you don't eat the water, then you're losing the vitamins a lot of times. So I'd rather see you, like I said, light saute or steam the vegetables, without a lot of water. If you're nuking them, microwaving them for like a couple, 30 seconds to a minute, just to kind of parch them, just to blanch them a little bit, that's fine. I like the ones that sometimes they come frozen in a plastic already, and you can kind of almost steam them right in that bag. That works well too. But like I said, when I'm cooking on the stove, if I'm cooking my salmon or if I'm cooking some chicken, I usually just halfway throw the green vegetables. I do pea pods or I do broccoli or I love asparagus like that. I'll cut it up into pieces. I'll just throw it in the pan for literally 3 to 5 minutes, and then it's out, and I'm eating them. So the less you cook vegetables, I think the healthier they are.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. If you're not following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. We got this message to us. I had to ask it from Ralph38, big fan of the show. Dave, have you seen the new Avengers? And if you have, Dave, no spoilers for those watching. We would literally cause a riot if you did leak any spoilers. He wants to know any bodybuilder current, I know he does mention the Rich Piana video that you did in the past, I guess current bodybuilders, who would you cast to play Thanos?
I have not seen the movie. And the reason, and I put it out there, if anyone tells me about the movie, I'm going to kill them, basically. So I don't want to know anything about it. My good friend Susie Blaylock went and saw it. I'm like, Susie, I don't want to know anything. I don't even want to know if you liked it. Don't tell me anything. But obviously, yeah, Rich Piana, I think, was the prototype for Thanos. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I can't even imagine. I think, what's his name? Goliath would be great as Thanos, right? I mean, he's got the big freaky body parts like Rich Piana. I would probably cast him in the current thing. The question is, who would you cast as the other characters? Who would be the Hulk, I don't know. My son saw old picture of me the other day, and he said, Dad, Hulk, he was pointing at me, which made me feel good. I had validation from my son that I was the Incredible Hulk at some point. It would be interesting who would be all the different characters. Like, who would be Spider-Man? I mean, would you pick like a men's physique guy? Like maybe Andre Ferguson could be like the Black Spider-Man.
You're going to cause something now with that comment.
What?
You're going to cause something now with that comment.
Yeah, exactly right. They're gonna tell me that I'm making fun of men's physique. Jeremy Buendia is going to text me and tell me, how dare I? Actually, Jeremy Buendia would be a good Spider-Man. There you go.
That's true.
Right? I think he would look great as Spider-Man. He's got the small, teeny waist, and he's got the good proportion, and he looks like he can move. Put some web spinners on there.
Love it. Tyler, real quick, if you pull up Phil Heath's Instagram, somebody doctored a picture of him as Thanos. So I guess the criteria would have to be someone bald-headed. Now, Antoine Vaillant, someone I could picture.
There you go.
Done in the right way, right?
I like that. Yeah, that's a good one. Or Rully Winkler with a shaved head.
You wouldn't have Rully as the Hulk?
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah, that might be a better. You're right. I'd go Rully with the Hulk.
I will say this much before we go to the next question.
That's a good picture.
If you're planning on seeing the movie, do not drink anything beforehand. It is 3 hours long. You will thank me. All right.
So you saw it, Sid?
I saw it, yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Do not drink anything before you see it.
Because you don't want to have to get up to go pee, is what you're saying. Okay, all right. I gotta get like a bootleg copy in my house somehow so I could because my son wants to see it, but the way my son watches movies is we watch them in segments. Like he could maybe last for 20-30 minutes, and then we got to take a break, and then we go back to it. and then we watch it over and over and over again until he finally absorbs the storyline, you know. So
you know what? I have an idea, and you, Ask Dave viewers, can comment below if this is something you want to see. We're gonna give this till not next week, 2 weeks from now, or next week. Next week, late next week, we are gonna have an Avengers-themed Iron debate.
Okay. And what does that mean? Does that mean I have to dress as one of the Avengers?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that. I think nowadays, because I'm so small compared to the way I used to be, I might have to be like an Iron Man, you know. I don't think I'm no longer qualify as like the Hulk or anything like that.
Right. So you do that. I'll be Brown Panther.
Yeah, Black Panther. There you go. And any viewers out there who have any access to any links for the movie that I can watch someplace, and wink, wink, feel free to text them over to me.
This is on the internet. You're saying this.
Yeah, I don't care.
All right, let's go to the next question. Jerry,
it is
Tony,
what it is, man. It's a Wild West out there.
Jerry D. Tony wants to know your KLEN protocol and how long should he take it for maximum fat loss?
I do clenbuterol with my clients for anywhere from 12 to 16 or 12 to 18 weeks. Usually starting with 20 micrograms twice a day, doing it every day, no days off, and I usually increase it by 20 micrograms every, say, 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how the person progresses. It could even be every 1 to 3 weeks. Once again, I don't go more than 20 micrograms 6 times a day. And I always break it up into separate dosages. You don't want to take like 40 or 60 micrograms of KLEN at the same time because it drops your blood pressure. And the more if you take too much in one shot, it drops it too much, and then your heart has to beat faster to compensate for the lower blood pressure, and that's when you can get the little palpitations and stuff like that. So if you break the doses into 20 micrograms, spread out throughout the day, you don't get any of that heart effect from it.
Let's go to Rosette M, an interesting one here. How do bodybuilders initially put on size and mass? I see many bodybuilders filming videos of isolation movements, but no one ever shows what they use to truly put on that mass.
Well, it's the basics. I mean, anyone who's ever added a lot of mass on their body will tell you that it's the squats, it's the benching, it's the bent rows, it's the deadlifts. Those are the mass builders, If you don't do that, you can add muscle to your body, but you're never going to have density, thickness. Because think about what you're doing when you're pulling 400 pounds off the floor. You're using your entire body. You're using legs, you're using arms, you're using shoulders, you're using back, the core stabilization muscles. That's why your whole body gets thicker from that. When you just do machines, where the machine is basically stabilizing the weight for you, you don't build density, you just kind of like shape the muscle that you're training. And I think that's the reason why you want to do both. You do your basic core movements, okay, that involve your entire body to build density, and then you do the machines to isolate the muscle to get detail in there, But the bottom line is, if you have no muscle, you can't build detail. So you might as well work on the core movements when you first start out.
Let's go to Lotte. Why does my sweat smell like ammonia? Is it because of very low carbs or something else?
You probably need a shower. No, just kidding. I think a lot of times when people get overly acidified, they reek of ammonia. That's a waste product, obviously, of protein digestion. Sometimes I had a guy who worked for me. He used to stink of ammonia. His breath was horrendous, and it was because he was drinking protein shakes. Too many protein shakes a day. He was drinking 100 grams of protein, 5 times a day. Your body can't process all that protein, and it becomes overly toxified. So when that happens, sometimes it's a nice idea to back off or do some acid neutralizing type of supplements, whether it be, you always should be on a good calcium supplement because your body uses calcium to neutralize acidity. Apple cider vinegar is a good way to reduce acidity. Drinking alkalinized water will reduce acidity in the body. And I think you'll find that sometimes if you do get that ammonia smell, you might want to cut your protein back for a week or so, let your body catch up and kind of break down all that protein, and then you can build up to it again. Once again, that's a sign that your body is having trouble breaking down protein.
Let's go to Ash Smith. Any tips on improving hip mobility to improve squat performance?
Before every single squat workout I used to ever do is I always stretched. Normally I would stretch after the workout, but for legs, to get that flexibility to get down into the bucket and really get that deep, that deep squat going without, pulling muscles, Because I mean, if you put a lot of weight on your back, you're going to get into the squat position. It's just you risk tearing things or breaking things. So I always got on the floor, did the hurdler stretches for my running days, split type stretches, just loosen those muscles up. Also, getting a sports massage, once a week or once every 2 weeks while you're competing is going to also help keep everything nice and loose in that area so that you have the flexibility to get into the positions. Because remember, if you can't do full range of motion movements, you're going to get partial development, and you're just not going to see the results that you're looking for in the gym.
Let's go to Primal Pursuit. There's a lot of current research suggesting that some peptides are beneficial for health and longevity. Do you have experience with growth hormone peptides such as GHRP2, GHRP6, sermorelin? If so, what benefits have you seen specifically for bodybuilding, and what compounds and dosages are most effective?
I say this a lot, and I forget who I was talking to, but I was talking to Lee Priest the other day, and he was saying, the reason I always say I've said this before is because I don't want people to think that I have dementia and I don't remember. But the truth is that I have said this a lot of times. I don't believe, and I've used both, that any of those peptides, those GH-releasing peptides, are even close to the potency of real growth hormone. If you took 2-3 units of GH a day, I don't think you could take enough of the peptides to actually stimulate enough of your natural production to even equal half of what GH does. Having said that, there is a place for those the GH-releasing peptides. They do work. They just are not going to give you the effect of GH. People think, whoa, if I take 600 micrograms a day of GHRP6, it's going to be equivalent to 3 IUs of GH. No, it doesn't. It's not even. It's maybe equivalent to 1/8 of an IU of GH. So you're looking at a more esoteric type of thing, hormone replacement dosage as opposed to pharmacological dosages. It's like comparing taking 100 milligrams of testosterone a week to taking 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week. At 1,000 milligrams of testosterone a week, you're getting a pharmacological drug-induced muscle building effect. At 100 milligrams per week of testosterone, you're getting a hormone replacement effect. It's replacing what your body would naturally produce. Same thing with the GH peptides. The peptides are kind of are mimicking what your body naturally would release, okay? And then taking actual, pharmacological GH is creating that effect of building muscle and burning fat at a much greatly accelerated rate above what you naturally would experience from your natural production. So there is definitely a difference. Each of the peptides have different dosage protocols. A lot of times we're looking at 200 to 250 micrograms twice a day of those GH peptide releasers, and that seems to work pretty well.
Good one here from Squirrel Builder. Love the name. Dave, when you were competing, which body part was the hardest to get peeled, to get shredded? And nowadays, what do you think the bodybuilders lack most? So I guess which muscle do you think bodybuilders are lacking most in today's era?
I think that in my body, and everyone's body is a little different, of course, and women versus men is very different. I would walk around 315 with striated glutes. But that just because I had striated glutes didn't mean I was in contest shape. My back, my middle back, okay, that would be the last to come in. When I saw lat striations, in my lower lats and my middle, rhomboids were all, fibery looking, that's when I knew I was in shape. And I had to go a lot. So if I had 300, I had glutes, I had to go down to 270, to get the rest of my body really shredded. And a lot of people don't see that part of their body, so they look and they see the front shredded, the quads are feathered, striated glutes, they think they're ready to go, and then they get on stage and they get beat by someone who's got ridiculous detail. For men, I think it's the back. The back really is the last to come in, but in some men who are very estrogen sensitive, it is the glutes and hamstrings. And you have to be able to identify what it is. That's why it's good to have a coach. Because I have guys come to me and they're like, my glutes are striated. Why are you still pushing me and giving me more cardio? I'm like, because you're not in shape yet. I said, what do you want me to tell you? You want to come in half-assed? Then fine. So you have to know what your limit is and where you have to get to be in the best shape of your life.
Let's go to Lord of Phantasms. Dave, how to keep aldosterone at a minimum during peak week?
The best way to keep aldosterone low is to eat salt in your diet. If you eat sodium on a regular basis, you salt your foods and stuff like that, aldosterone, which is a hormone that measures sodium intake into the body, will be low. Because if you're eating a lot of salt, your body doesn't need to it doesn't need any mechanism to try to absorb it. It's already got what it needs. If you restrict sodium, like some people do the entire diet, what happens is aldosterone levels go through the roof because your body thinks it doesn't have enough aldosterone. So it keeps cranking out more and more and more. and then you go and have one meal with salt in it, what happens? You retain all that salt because the aldosterone grabs it up, and when you retain salt, you retain water, and then you find that you're you would define yourself as being sodium sensitive. Sodium sensitive is created, okay? It's not something that just is there or not there. Now, having said that, some women, we obviously around the time of the month they're going to get their period, they get spikes in certain hormones, estrogen, progesterone. High estrogen spikes can actually cause increased aldosterone in the body and then sodium retention. So they may notice that they get more, water retentive around certain times of the month. But men don't have those spikes. Can you create that? Yeah, if you take too many drugs and you aromatize too much, you can produce estrogen and have sensitivity. But by and far, if you eat salt in your diet, you won't be sodium sensitive because you will have low aldosterone levels.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. Before we go to the next question, Dave, I believe you have a special guest joining you in studio right now.
Yeah, let's get him over here. My good friend John Caraccio from New York. Let's see if I can. I don't know if the cameras can pick this up. He came down to vacation. John only gets to vacation once every 7 years, like the groundhog.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It's good to get down here, check out RxMuscle Studios, but basically getting some R&R. It was a busy 2018 competitive season, and between all the diet, the prepping, and then work's been really crazy in New York. So
John works as an electrician, walking up and down buildings before they have elevators in them, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this question, because I think that you might have started. Did you start bodybuilding before I did? What year?
Yeah, actually, my first competition was 1990. I was in the ANPPC.
Okay, same year I did.
Yeah, and actually I did both ANPPC, ANBC, and an NPC. Right. I did 4 shows that summer. Yeah.
And then ever since then, you were pretty consistent. But then you stopped for a while and you started doing CrossFit.
Right. Yeah, I was 20.
Yeah. Told about to do it.
Yeah. 2010. It was my last show at the Nationals in Lauderdale. Then I took, a couple years break. There was things going on, and then I started CrossFit. I guess 2014.
I told him he was crazy. I said you're going to get hurt, and of course you did.
Right. Well, the injury wasn't completely all CrossFit. It was some work related. But I ruptured my patella tendon June of 2016, and I was actually working with you, and I was prepping for the Masters Nationals, and I was about 7 weeks away.
And I said to myself, oh my God, because those injuries sometimes can be career-ending, but you obviously rehabbed it.
Yeah.
Did you re-rupture it?
No, I didn't re-rupture. No, I pretty much.
Who re-ruptured this? Someone's re-ruptured this. Believe it or not, it's not an uncommon injury in guys over 40 years old, because those tendons get a little weak sometimes. Mm-hmm. And you do something, you make a move at work. It's always a weird, stupid thing you do outside of the gym that winds up getting you hurt.
Yeah, according to the doctor, he pretty much just when my line was just wear and tear. So, besides wasn't just the training, but working in the construction field, up and down ladders, all that. So then it just happened to go that in that CrossFit competition, and then but pretty much from that point on. Once I was in the hospital, my mindset was already, because one of the doctors on call in the emergency room says, he says, you won't be seeing the bodybuilding stage again. And then my son was with me, he was like 15. Yeah. He was actually filmed my whole injury on video, And I said to my son, Mark, he doesn't know who he's talking to. And, my son, he goes, Daddy goes, major setback, but bigger comeback. And from that point on, I was in the gym actually. The next day I had a mobilizer on, I was training up a body, and I was crutching my way to the gym. And that was it. I said, you know what, I'm going to try to make a comeback for, November shows. And I've always done the Eastern USAs.
Sure, Nationals.
And that's pretty much, I came into that, had that mindset, and I had ran into Jay Cutler actually. He came to one of the supplement places near the house, the Energy Bar, and talked to him. This was in February, and he says, well, why don't you, come do my show? He says, in the New England Classic, November 7th or 3rd or whatever it was, 2017. So I said, all right, and that was it. That was my goal. And
you can't say no to Jay Cutler, I guess, right?
No. He says, it's because actually what happened, he was there, and we had a picture of him and I from 2004, and he was, big.
John looked exactly the same, by the way. He didn't look like he aged a year since 2004.
Okay, I'll take that. Yeah, I don't know if that's how true that is, but
my father always says the Italians don't age externally; we age internally only.
That's probably true. Yeah. So. But yeah, so then actually, so that was it. That was my goal, and I shot into that, and I did really well there. I did the 40, and I was 50 years old at the time. I took first in the 50 and over, and I think I took second. And I just did bodybuilding. I didn't do classic. And then the following week, and actually Steve Weinberg and Jay Cutler's the New England Classic, I saw them afterwards, and Steve was really complimentary of my improvement, and he says, some comeback, and I said, oh, you knew about my injury? And he's like, no, what injury? And I told him, and he says, well, whatever you did, because he's head judge, he's judging me, and I was really concerned about the left leg. And then the following week did the Eastons, and I took the 50 and over, I took first, I took 40 and over, I took first, and I even did the open middleweight, and that class they had like 19 guys, I think 6 of them were going to nationals, and I just missed top 5, I came in 6th, but I was really like happy with that, because I was like...
So you knew you were back, and you knew you could compete with the guys again.
That was it, that was my case, I think I may have an opportunity to get in a pro card in the Masters division, and... that was it. That was my wake up there, because saying, wow, because guys were coming up to me saying, how do you get so conditioned? You're 50 years old. These were guys who were like in their 20s.
I say you got good skin. You look like you did it at 35. I mean, at 50, and obviously the guys are not as good at 50.
Right.
And
it's things
you
like,
took advantage of the fact that you're able to get harder than everyone else.
Right.
And maintain your muscle mass. I don't know how you did it.
And I was pretty much...
You're not doing CrossFit anymore, right?
No, I haven't done. But my case of not sure if I'm doing classic, because then I was going to go for Masters Nationals, and some people, actually one of your species sponsored athletes, Dominic Mustachio, he said, John, he says, I think you should really go for classic. He says, I think you, and I went to talk to Steve Weinberger, and he says, well, let me tell you, because you definitely have a bodybuilder's build. He says, but your conditioning at your age, he says, not many people are going to match that. Right. And he says, I would definitely go do classic and bodybuilding, and that was really what we did.
So you got it in classic, though?
Yeah, I got it in classic, and the class was pretty. I think we had it was either 12 or 14 in classic, and the bodybuilding, I believe I came in, maybe second or third. But then the weight, that was the difference in the body. It was like it was like 185 and below. So I had to weigh in at Team Universe at 160 because I was doing a classic. So I was under 5'4". And so I had to suck down to 160, which I made the weight. I had to go through a whole sauna suit and all that thing to get there, but I did it. And so on stage, I think I was like 164, and I was competing against in the middleweight guys in the bodybuilding who were like 180.
All right, so you got the pro card. Congratulations! Finally, it took him 35 years. He got the pro card. I take my hat off to you because you. If anyone deserved it, you did. You lived the bodybuilding lifestyle all the time, and I don't know how you still do it, but you obviously you're very passionate about it. It's in your blood, and you love doing it. Are you going to do a pro show now?
Well, I did a Pittsburgh Masters Pro in September of 2018.
I'm talking about an open pro show.
I'm pretty much retired from it.
You don't want to get on like one stage or get on the New York Pro stage one time and just say you did it?
I'd probably be divorced though if I did. But I've thought that but no, it is my work schedule. But my work schedule wasn't so.
Well, you can go right from work right to the venue, right?
Yeah, to the venue. Right?
You're in New York City anyway,
It's just all the 3 months before that. Though,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
But anyway, I've known you now, Dave, like 21 years, and most whatever knowledge I've known on supplements and eating and keto and is.
John and I have worked together many times, and I know you use all the species of nutrition products, and
keeps my joints.
He's very loyal.
Omega-lyze, I do my lipolyze, my sleep, the Somalyze, and the Fiberlyze. I pretty much cover it, and it's a quality, product. I know where it's coming from, So.
Well, John, you're a true testament to. I always say, if you don't quit and you don't give up, you'll achieve your goals. And I know that that's always been a goal of yours to get the pro card. Probably a lot of people have foo-fooed you and said you'll never do it, you'll never get it. And persistence paid off, and I want to just shake your hand, man. I'm proud of you, man. I said, I don't know many people that have been doing it as long as you have with the mindset and consistency that you've done it.
That's true. It's like I said, it's been a passion and
labor of love.
I always go in there and it's 100%. That's just how I do it. If I go, my job, I try to do it that way. I go to the gym, and from that point of my injury, I said I got something I got to accomplish. I got to prove to myself that I could, because I was 7 weeks away from the Masters Nationals in 2016.
Are you going to still be doing this at 60 years old, or are you done?
Oh yeah, no, I'll still be. I'm gonna. I don't know about being on stage, but I'm still gonna, live the lifestyle of bodybuilding and all that.
Well, enjoy the vacation here in Florida, and thank you for stopping by and Like I said, John Caraccio, new IFBB Pro. I'm sure he loves that title.
For sure. That long time coming, that's for sure, Dave.
All right, back to City, New York.
All right, Dave, and thank you. Congratulations again, John. Let's go. We'll take 2 or 3 more questions. Let's go to Philip Rowe. Is it worth sacrificing form a little bit and cheating during back training? I feel like overloading the muscle with more weight can work better for a couple of sets. And then I guess he goes on to say other body parts. We'll stick to back.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're doing any kind of exercise and you're trying to increase the weights, sometimes it's hard. You know, if you go and doing bent rows and you want to increase by 20, 30 pounds, you probably won't be able to do that many reps. My thing is, if you can control the negative, even if you get a little help with the positive, you know, if you, let's say you're doing a bent row and there's someone there who can maybe give you a little boost to get that weight up, and then you can kind of lower it under control, that's where you're building the muscle. The eccentric portion or the negative portion of the movement is where you build muscle. The positive portion of the movement, you're actually moving the weight, whether it be a bench press or a row, that's going to develop strength and increase your strength. But it's actually the negative, the eccentric portion, that actually is where you're getting the tearing of the microfibers, and that's what the stimulus is for building new muscle. So yeah, it's okay to give a little cheat as long as you're not sacrificing form too much where you're going to hurt yourself. I was always a very strict exercise form person. When my form starts to deteriorate, I would rather have a training partner give me a little extra help rather than start jerking the weight and potentially hurting myself.
Let's go to Poppy Rico. Dave, I have a small rotator cuff tear that bothers me on my left shoulder. I did therapy for 3 months. It helped. I'm back in the gym, but it still hurts. The doctor says it was recommended surgery to be back at 100%, but does not guarantee anything. Do you think I can still get away with it and keep training if I wanted to compete in like men's physique? Or do you think I should get surgery? How long do you think I would have to wait to be back to 100% in the gym and train hardcore? And then what supplements, compounds would you recommend if I don't get surgery done to maintain and heal the muscle?
The good thing and the bad thing. There's the good thing about the rotator cuff is you don't see it. So if you have a torn rotator cuff, you're not going to see it on stage unless it's affecting your training to the point where you can't develop the muscle. But a small tear, it's not like if your delt was torn, you're going to see obviously a tear in it. You're not going to see a tear in the rotator cuff necessarily. So that's a good thing. So if you can train through it and it's not affecting your training enough where you're going to notice that you have one side smaller than the other, then don't get surgery on it. You know, take Arthrolyze, 5 pills twice a day so that you're getting that joint and connective tissue, precursors so that your body can repair itself. Take a lot of vitamin C. 3,000 milligrams per day, which is important for collagen production, and allow your body to heal. The problem with the rotator cuff is that it's a very hard muscle to repair via surgery. If you have a small tear, they can usually fix it. Big tears, a lot of times, get recurrent tear. So you fix it and then it tears again. And a lot of times they can't fix it at all. And they have to go to actually, even though your joint may be good, they go to a reverse shoulder replacement. Because a reverse shoulder replacement like I have, although I didn't need it because I have an intact rotator cuff, it allows you to lift your arm without needing a rotator cuff. So you don't want to get to that point. But a small tear is not a big deal. The problem is on a rotator cuff repair, it's 6 to 8 weeks out of the gym. And from what people tell me, it's painful. And it's not an easy comeback. But if you have so much instability in the joint that it's affecting your training, eventually you're gonna continue to tear that muscle more and more. So sometimes fixing it is the only option. And once again, it really depends on how much pain you're in. That's usually the dictator. I know guys that are in pain all the time. When they sleep at night, it hurts, and they just can't take it. They got to get surgery. So you'll know when you need surgery because you'll say, "I've had enough," But if you're not at that point yet, and you can still train, I would avert surgery on that type of a muscle as long as possible.
Good friend of the show, Jay Macon, and this is a question that we've actually been getting over the course of the last week from last week's episode of Iron Debate, and then of course your interview with Dan Solomon, where the discussion was about Kai Greene getting a special invite to the Olympia. Jay wants to know what your thoughts are, I guess, as far as would it be unfair to other competitors? He mentions Ramy specifically. There have been other, bodybuilders mentioned as well, as far as it being unfair to them not getting a special invite, but Kai getting extended a special invitation to this upcoming Olympia?
I talked to Jim Mannion a couple days ago about the very subject that we're talking about, and he basically told me, first of all, athletes don't get extended special invites to the Olympia. They have to ask for them. Having said that, he said if Kai Greene asked him or put in a request for a special invite because he wanted to do the Olympia, they would absolutely give it to him. No questions asked. Why? Kai's won the Arnold twice. He's been second at the Olympia innumerable times. He has earned that right to go to the Olympia, and they would be more than happy to have him on stage. Having said that, a guy like Big Ramy is still competing actively. He didn't qualify. He didn't place top 5 at the Olympia last year. He's not going to get. He doesn't re-qualify. He has to do another show to qualify. Kai Greene, compared to Big Ramy, is not a good example because Kai Greene has been around a very, very long time, and he has earned his stripes in the IFBB, and that's why he would be given that special invite, just like a Levrone would. These are legends. Kai Greene will be in the Hall of Fame at some point in the future when he retires. So Kai Greene will get that special invite, whereas a guy like Big Ramy has to earn it and qualify. I completely agree with that policy. Once again, it's not fair to give a guy who's only been competing a couple, 5-6 years, and really hasn't earned his stripes yet a special invite, because now you have to give everyone a special invite then. So I think people can see the difference. I mean, look at Kai. I mean, he's a legend already, even though he hasn't won the Olympia. But let's face it, we want to see him on that stage. I don't think Kai really wants to go on the stage. He says he does, but I don't think he really does, because if he did, he would be up there. It's not a very hard decision to make. Look, we know Kai likes drama. So if Kai in his mind said, I really want to do the Olympia, I would see him making it a dramatic announcement, maybe waiting till the very last minute, maybe talking to the powers that be, but saying, hey, look, I want to make this like a dramatic last minute type of announcement. But that hasn't happened. No one's gotten any word from him that he has any interest in doing it. They did reach out to him earlier in the year. They had a sit down in New York City. Obviously, it was put out there that they wanted him in the Olympia. Kai obviously did not respond to the fact of saying, hey, I want to be there. He's still saying that there's logistical problems. I don't believe that. The only logistics is Kai's decision to do it. And if he decides he's going to put whatever animosity he has against the Olympic people behind him, now that you got a new guy in there, Dan Solomon running the Olympia, then I think they can make it happen, and I think they should make it happen. If he has no interest in competing in the Olympia, that's a different story. And if he wants to, keep the guessing game going because it's increasing his mystique and giving him, the ability to make more money than that, so be it as well. Only person who knows if they want to do the Olympia for sure is Kai himself, and he's obviously not out there talking, so we have to just wonder for now.
We're going to take one more question. We have so many more, but I know we're really, really pressed up against the clock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of these questions, send them to Dave individually, and he'll do individual recordings of them, and we'll upload them to the channel. Good friend Samir Trudy, if you could change anything in bodybuilding history, not your own career, but bodybuilding history, one thing, what would it be?
That's tough. Usually when you want to change things, it's because you're involved in the history. And he's saying it's not involving me. So I don't know. I think everything happened the way it should, really. I mean, what I'm trying to think out there. I guess, as a kid growing up watching Pumping Iron, not knowing what the movie was about and who was going to, ultimately win that Olympia, I had no idea. I was always rooting for Lou Ferrigno. So I guess the feel-good story to me would be if Louis ever had a chance to win the Olympia and would have been Mr. Olympia at least one time. I think that would have been a feel-good story in bodybuilding. And probably, more than likely, had he not taken the job as the Incredible Hulk and he would have stuck with bodybuilding, he probably would have been Mr. Olympia 2-3 times, maybe more. Because if you remember, after Arnold retired, there was, Frank Zane won it, and Frank was not a big guy. Louis probably would have easily beaten him, at least, 3, 4. Zane won 3 Olympias, and then after Zane, obviously you had, the Arnold comeback, and then you had Franco. I think Louis could have won it, probably 3, 4, 5 times if he would have focused exclusively on bodybuilding. When he made his comeback, he was already 38, 39 years old, so that really wasn't a good, that wasn't his best. He gave up his best years, which I think was a good give up because the Incredible Hulk was so important.
Like I said, we have a ton of questions remaining, some really, really good ones, thought-provoking questions. I'm typing them out as soon as we go off air. I'm going to be sending them to Dave, and Dave will be recording individual answers to these questions. That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, brought to you by Species Nutrition, Ariel Cuts Fitness, as well as Liquid Sunrays. For our producer, Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.